That's really neat. And you have so many pieces of technology that you use. There's one thing you always mention where people ask, how do you manage case management software? And I think you said you use Monday.com and Dubsado. Like, what are these softwares? And
Right. Yeah. I've been through a journey myself with trying to find the right software, right? And as a solo, maybe you do participate in kind of checking different software apps out more so than if you were maybe in a big firm and you were limited to just one type of software that your company is using. So
yeah,
I launched my firm in 2015. I knew right away from the beginning that I wanted technology to play a big part of how I do business with my clients. So I started out using, some of the programs like e-immigration Serenade. A lot of us use that. I tried other things like Smokeball, not very well heard of in the immigration industry, but does do forms. That wasn't working too good. And then I got into the My Case. I tried Clio. I was with Clio for a while. I switched to Practice Panther. And all this time, I was using a separate system, of course, for the immigration forms. Like I said, I used to use Serenade, then I switched to Prima Facie, and now I'm using DocketWise. So I'm happy with the immigration forms software with DocketWise now. But what I was not happy with is using Clio or even Practice Panther, because I couldn't customize them enough. I couldn't put it, I wanted to see my cases in certain stages that the case goes through. And this is a common thing that I hear from other lawyers that, for example, something like Clio, the stages they give you are open, pending, and closed, right? That's it. Like that's like a case goes through more than just those stages. To me, a case goes through, you're in the document collection phase, right? Then you're in the USCIS submission phase. Then it's like received by USCIS, but no receipt yet. Then it's got the receipt. Then it's got the biometrics. And all these stages, I wanted to track them. I wanted something that I could look at and eyeball and go through with my staff quickly when we do our status review meetings to see, where are these cases at? Show me the red flags. Oh, that case was sent in 2 months ago and we still don't have the receipt. Not unusual now, right? But, the red flag. Exactly. So that's why I came across Monday early last year. And then when the pandemic hit, I experimented with Monday. I started off using it just for task management. And I soon launched and built my entire practice management system with Monday. And it's at monday.com. I know it's a funny name. And it's great. I'm really happy with it.
So I remember last year they were having some advertising push where every time I went on YouTube, their advertising would come. Maybe people heard it was like an English accent voiceover or something like that. It's definitely a try. Like I use an old school Excel sheet for this kind of stuff. My volume is pretty low, but I've tried using Trello, and I'm trying out. I think I'll ClickUp right now for kind of.
ClickUp is a little bit similar. Yeah, I know a couple of attorneys who really love ClickUp, and it's a little bit similar to Monday. Honestly, though, in comparisons, to me, you can't beat what Monday does, because Monday is kind of like a glorified Excel spreadsheet with all kinds of bells and whistles, and the integrations with other apps like your Gmail or other. You don't even need Zapier for a lot of these integrations. So I have status reports that go out to my clients automatically every month based on the status of the case. So when something is in the USCIS pending status, every month the client gets an automated status report. So it's kind of like on autopilot until we change the status to the next phase, and then they get a different report. So, the more you can communicate with your clients and tell them what's going on, even if nothing is going on, the better it is, right? We kind of know that.
Yeah. And so that's wonderful. You mentioned Zapier or whatever it's the technical name is. That's a software for those who don't know, when you have two different apps that helps them communicate information in between. And one thing I'm happy with them is I have like an ebook that people download, and then I get their email address and it goes to my newsletter system. And
excellent.
But sometimes people will unsubscribe, and I have Zapier to do the unsubscribe. But 1 out of like 15 times, Zapier will fail and not do it.
Me too. I know. I don't know why occasionally that happens.
It's like it's obnoxious, especially if it's a European client and there's those European regulations and stuff. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna happen with like small volume and small scale that we're doing stuff, but I have to
Yeah.
like double check its work, which is then it's like, what's the point if I'm double checking its work, like if it's not doing it right? And I've
I know.
contacted them about it, but they're like, we don't see it or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's just the one thing I'd share. It's not 100%.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. And then you mentioned Dubsado, which is another funny name for an app, but this is a little bit lesser known app that is mainly a CRM, a customer relationship management app. And I really, really love it. I only use it at the front end. So, think of a lead coming in, right? If you can go to my website, you can submit a contact form, you can book your consultation online, you can do all that. Or I also use Smith AI, the reception service. They have the link to the same form from Dubsado. So they will book my consultation, and everything is automated with Dubsado, which is what I love. So the client gets their invoice to make their payment. They're reminded. Then when I sign them up, I have a proposal and an invoice and a contract all in one email that the client gets. So it's not like sending attachments. Before I used Dubsado, I would email a client a quote as an attachment, or I would give it to them in person if they were in my office, right? When we did consultations in the office. But with COVID and everything being remote, I wanted a better way to send my quotes or proposals to clients. And Dubsado I think it was mainly created for creative people like photographers, wedding planners. There's all kinds of, online chats about people that are in those fields. But there is actually a Dubsado for lawyers group, and lawyers are discovering it. So it's a nice thing. The reason I like it is it allows you to send a really kind of more like a website looking proposal. So it's not just a PDF attachment sheet with, your price on it. It's actually a link to an online, think of it kind of like a landing page, but it's also a PDF that the client can download. And you can put your pictures in it. You can, put buttons to click on. So they accept the proposal. Then they go immediately to your contract. They can sign your contract right there. And then they go immediately to your invoice, and they can make their deposit payment for their invoice right there. But then I put them into Monday after that, because I want Monday to be used for all the status trackings we do. So, and then they connect with Zapier. So that's kind of how I'm doing it.
Very interesting. Yeah, I have a little more mechanical kind of system where, I'll send an email follow-up for consultation, or I use Calendly now.
Yeah, I use Calendly too. Yeah,
and
I
have
love
them
it.
pay
Yeah.
through that with PayPal, and then we schedule consultation. After consultation, I send a follow-up email, and when they okay for a contract, I use eSign. Let me see what it was called.
HelloSign.
HelloSign or HelloSign.
Yeah.
And I just put their name in there. So it's a little bit of a work. Maybe I should make my contract more generic where I don't have to type in their name, but the prices vary depending on the case and like extra services, and having them e-sign it, then they're in the system. And I use Dropbox and for documents. And I know you use FileVine. Is that correct? So you do it?
No, I use Box.
Not for that, but was it you and on tips that you were talking about?
Pipefile. Yeah,
right.
Pipefile is awesome. So Pipefile is for when we already have signed up a client, because so many of these client portals are not the greatest. As much as I love DocketWise for forms, for immigration forms, I'm just not there yet with their client portal. So instead of having the client log in, create a password for this portal thing, I use Pipefile, and I've done a webinar with Ksenia from Orlando, Ksenia Marova, and Pipefile is awesome because it's a great, secure, and easy way to send a link to your client with a list of the documents they need to upload. And you can put little explanations in there. You have templates. So I'm pretty well covered. I've got DocketWise for my forms, right? All my data for the client, the questionnaires, and I've got Pipefile for the documents. So even though I'm using a number of different apps, I still feel like it's pretty seamless because they all kind of talk to each other, and it works pretty well.
The work of it is like every time you want to start something new, like I'm trying to switch from Trello to ClickUp and learning it. There's such a burden of learning and going to the next step. that it dissuades you. Just you're moved from, you know, serenade to e-immigration to learning to to DocuWise. That's a lot of work and a lot of brain power to try and learn these new softwares. It's hard. It's hard to put
it is. But you know what I tell people? I think a lot of us, and a lot of people who are using and trying different things, I think they underutilize the tech support of all of these companies. So, you know, I see things posted a lot of times online. How do you do this? And I'm not just saying not in my own group, but you know, there's other groups that I'm members of. How do you do this? How do you do that? I had trouble this. And when I run into that problem, the first thing I do is I immediately send an email or, you know, whatever system the company has for their tech support. And most of the companies are pretty awesome. Like Monday, for example, I knew nothing about Monday, and I am not at all a computer person. Like, I hate to tell you, but I failed a computer programming class in university because it was horrible, actually horrible. I'll never forget it. They made me do like punch cards, and we had to learn SAS, the language, SAS, and oh my God. Like I always loved technology, even from a young age, and I thought, oh great, I'm going to take this computer programming course. But you know, this was like ages ago, right before, you know, when they were still using punch cards, and I hated that course. So I am not at all into computer programming, languages, or any of that. So when I use an app, I want it to be easy. I want it to be intuitive. And if I can't figure it out myself, I will immediately contact tech support. And Monday's tech support is so awesome. Like, you know, they will just email me back, and then we'll have this thread going for like back and forth, how to do this for like maybe 6 back and forths. And then I found to something new that I discovered. So I think a lot of times we maybe tend to give up. We don't know how to do something. We get frustrated, right? Oh, this isn't working. I hate this app. I don't know how to use it. It's not working. Have you tried contacting tech support? Ask them for a demo. DocuWise is the same thing. As much as DocuWise seems to be easy, sometimes it's just not intuitive the way they have certain things arranged. But when you ask them to show you, it makes perfect sense. So sometimes you just need someone to show you.
And one thing is, I got a software, I'm sure you have it too, Loom. Where you can record what your desktop is showing.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
And I use that for tech support to say, listen, this is what I can't figure out. It's easier.
I encourage everyone to do that because you can get that for free. There is a paid version, but you don't need that. The free version is fabulous. The paid version allows you to save your videos, but if you're just using it for a little tech support or even explainer videos to a client or to a team member, you know, get Loom. It's fabulous. Yeah, I do that too, because by the time you write up an email, right, to tech support saying what happened, it's so much easier just to show them what happened.
Exactly. That's been a really game changer. It's made life so much easier than having to think it through on the email. Just talk about it, show it. And I started now using it with clients when they ask questions about like how long could I be outside the US, and I should probably save some sort of text for it. But now just have a quick Loom video. I said, well, you can't be outside for 6 months. This repetitive stuff would just be a video. You can put on YouTube too to get a thing, but if it's more, you know, information you don't want to put out publicly as individual, Loom is just a link that's internal.
Yeah.
Later too.
Yeah.